The Young and the Restless spoilers Cole's final decision and the unexpected twist. The story of Cole Howard, a man who had long struggled with his own demons and the consequences of his past decisions, was about to take a dramatic turn. With his health rapidly declining, Cole had come to a painful conclusion. He no longer had the strength to fight his terminal illness. He had made peace with the idea that he would not survive much longer. His decision was clear. He chose to stop treatment and accept his fate. In his mind, the end was inevitable, and the hope of a cure had long since faded. But what Cole didn't know was that life was about to throw him an unexpected curveball, one that would change everything for him in a way he could never have predicted. Victoria Newman, Cole's long-lost love, entered the room with a calmness that belied the life-changing news she was about to deliver. It was as though the weight of their shared history and the gravity of Cole's illness had finally brought them to this pivotal moment. With a look of tenderness and compassion, Victoria dropped a bombshell that would shatter Cole's carefully constructed walls of resignation. "I'm pregnant, Cole," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "And it's your baby." The words hung in the air between them, and for a moment, Cole could barely process what he had just heard. His mind raced, but his body felt like it had been frozen in time. At the age of 60, Cole had never expected to hear such news. He had made peace with his life, with the idea of dying without having had the chance to create a family of his own. But now, Victoria had delivered a gift that was both joyous and painful, a reminder of the life he had lived and the choices he had made. Cole's eyes welled with tears, the emotional weight of the moment hitting him harder than he expected. "I'm going to be a father," he whispered in disbelief. "At my age, I can barely believe it." Victoria smiled gently, placing a hand on his arm. "Yes, Cole. You're going to be a father. And it's a gift you deserve, something to fight for. Please, for this baby, fight the cancer. You don't have to give up yet." Cole was overwhelmed with a mix of emotions. He had spent so many years wrestling with his own demons, and now, as he stood on the precipice of death, this unexpected news had brought with it a glimmer of hope. For a moment, he allowed himself to imagine a future where he could be there for his child, watch them grow, and perhaps even redeem himself for the mistakes he had made. But at the same time, doubt and guilt gnawed at him. "I haven't done anything for you, Victoria," Cole said, his voice shaking with regret. "I've only caused you trouble. And now, here I am on the verge of dying, and you're giving me this gift. I don't deserve it." Victoria's eyes softened with understanding. "You deserve this, Cole. You may not see it, but this is your chance to make things right. Fight for your baby, for yourself, and for us." For a moment, they held each other in a quiet embrace, a promise of hope in the midst of despair. The tears that had threatened to fall were now freely streaming down Cole's face, his heart torn between the joy of the news and the reality of his illness. The weight of his impending death still hung over him, but for the first time in a long while, Cole felt a flicker of something more, something worth living for. However, this newfound joy and the promise of a future with Victoria and his unborn child had unintended consequences. It disrupted the carefully laid plans that Cole had been executing for months. His decision to stop treatment was never just about his health, it was part of a larger scheme. Cole had been pretending to be close to death as a way to manipulate those around him, to gain control over the situation and achieve his hidden goals. But now, with the news of the pregnancy, everything was in jeopardy. His plan to fake his death, a plan that was designed to serve his purposes, suddenly felt impossible to carry out. In a fit of rage, Cole lashed out at the thought of everything unraveling. His grip on the situation was slipping, and he couldn't afford to let it fall apart now. The pregnancy, though a source of joy, was now a complication that threatened everything he had worked for. His emotional turmoil and anger at the situation boiled over as he realized that his carefully crafted facade was falling apart. "Damn it," Cole muttered under his breath, pacing the room. "I can't let this ruin everything. I need to fix this. I need to make sure everything goes according to plan." As Cole stood there, consumed by frustration, his mind raced with ideas on how to salvage his control. The pregnancy had shifted the balance, but it wasn't enough to make him give up on his original plan. He needed to adjust, to adapt, and to regain the power he had almost lost. For Cole, the stakes had never been higher. His personal redemption, his future with Victoria and their child, and the carefully hidden secrets he had been keeping, everything was now at risk. And as he grappled with his emotions and his plans, one thing became clear. The path ahead would not be easy, and the consequences of his actions were only just beginning to unfold. The tangled web that Cole had spun around him was more complicated than ever. Would he be able to rewrite the story of his life, or was he doomed to repeat the same mistakes? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain: Cole's future, once defined by regret and loss, had taken an unexpected turn, one that could lead to either salvation or even greater destruction. Cole's reaction to Victoria's pregnancy, a web of lies and suspicion. The moment Cole Howard heard the news about Victoria Newman's pregnancy, his emotions were a storm of conflicting feelings. At first glance, his reaction seemed genuine: surprise, joy, and perhaps even a touch of hope. But as he gazed at Victoria, who was radiating with a mixture of excitement and determination, Cole's mind was racing. He had no idea whether to feel elation or rage, and his face betrayed none of the complexity churning inside him. For a moment, he played the part of the joyful man, someone who had been given the gift of a second chance at fatherhood, a chance that he never imagined at his age. But the truth was far more complicated. As Victoria leaned in, her hope and warmth filling the space between them, Cole wrapped his arms around her, pulling her into an embrace. His body, stiff with unease, faltered as he held her close. The joy that he wanted to feel didn't come easily. His mind quickly turned to the larger implications of this news. Could Victoria really be pregnant? His doubts began to creep in, especially given her age and the timing of everything. He knew that in their world, nothing was ever as it seemed. Could this be a part of her plan? Was she trying to manipulate him, using a child as leverage? He wasn't sure anymore. The moment they embraced, his expression shifted from one of feigned happiness to one of concern. His face was unreadable, but the underlying tension was undeniable. What was she really planning? He asked himself. Cole had been playing a dangerous game for so long, and now he was unsure if Victoria was truly the woman he thought she was or if she was just another player in his long, twisted web of lies. As they held each other, Cole's thoughts raced faster than his heart could beat. He needed to leave. He needed to disappear. His plan, the one he had been executing in secret, was at risk. Victoria's pregnancy was an unexpected twist that could derail everything, and for someone like Cole, who thrived in secrecy and control, this was not a complication he was prepared to handle. I have to fake my death, Cole thought bitterly. I can't risk staying here any longer. I need to vanish from Genoa City and continue with my plan in the shadows. Despite the sense of urgency coursing through his veins, Cole maintained his composure. He would go along with the pregnancy for now. After all, it served as a perfect cover for his eventual departure. But he knew he couldn't let it tie him down. He couldn't afford to get attached, even if the child was his. For Cole, the need to remain elusive was paramount, and he couldn't allow Victoria's pregnancy to be anything more than a temporary distraction in his carefully orchestrated life. But there were other questions in his mind. Was Victoria really pregnant? At her age, could she truly be carrying his child? These thoughts gnawed at him, fueling his suspicions. He had already been planning to disappear, to fake his own death as a way to avoid his past and its consequences. Now, this new development would only complicate matters, but it wouldn't stop him. It was simply a delay, a speed bump in the grand scheme of things. Cole needed to make sure that no one, least of all Victoria, knew the real reason he had been pushing her away. As for Claire, her thoughts about Victoria's pregnancy were another piece of the puzzle. Claire had always been someone who kept her emotions in check, someone who operated in the shadows, much like Cain. But what would she think about this pregnancy? Claire had seen firsthand the emotional toll of their family dynamics, and she was no stranger to the complexities of love, betrayal, and loyalty. Victoria's pregnancy could complicate things further, especially since Claire had already been struggling with her own feelings about her place in the Newman family. Would she support Victoria, or would she see this pregnancy as just another weapon in a battle of control and manipulation? Cole knew that Claire's loyalty to Victoria was strong, but how would she react to the news that Victoria was expecting his child? Would Claire feel threatened by this potential addition to the family, or would she see it as an opportunity to gain power and influence? Cole had always been able to manipulate the people around him, but Claire was a different kind of challenge. Her calculated nature and sharp intellect made her harder to control. If Cole wasn't careful, she could become a formidable obstacle in his plan to disappear. As Cole stood there, holding Victoria in his arms, his thoughts were spinning out of control. The sense of relief he had expected to feel upon hearing the news of the pregnancy never came. Instead, he felt trapped, his future now uncertain. What had seemed like a perfect escape plan was now at risk, and the complications were piling up faster than he could manage. His mind raced with possibilities. How could he manipulate the situation to his advantage? How could he leave without anyone suspecting that he was faking his death? And what about Victoria? Could he trust her, or was she just as dangerous as he was? Everything was in flux, and the future was uncertain. But one thing was clear: Cain Ashby had always been a man of secrets, and even now, as he embraced the woman carrying his child, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being played in a game far bigger than he ever imagined. With every move, the stakes got higher, and Cole knew that the price of failure was far greater than he had ever anticipated. The tension between love, trust, and manipulation was growing, and Cole was standing at the center of it all. Would he be able to escape his past and create the future he desired? Or would he be consumed by the very web of lies he had spun? Only time would tell. In the latest twists of The Young and the Restless, alliances are shifting, and players are positioning themselves in a game where the stakes could not be higher. Back in France, while guests remain trapped due to the storm, another secret alliance is quietly forming, one that Cain Ashby is completely unaware of. Billy Abbott, ever the wild card, has made a surprising move that will affect not only his own future but the fate of several powerful families in Genoa City. Billy, caught between his own ambitions and his growing frustration with Victor Newman, has decided to forge an alliance with Cain Ashby. In a conversation with Sally Spectra, Billy openly admits that he is willing to cooperate with Cain to challenge Victor and regain control of Chancellor Industries from the mustache, as he calls Victor. It's a bold move for Billy, who has always been one to follow his own path, but this time, he's choosing a side. Cain, though unaware of this development, has his own set of targets, and Billy is now firmly in the mix. Billy's choice to align with Cain signals a shift in the power dynamics in Genoa City. Cain's network of allies or targets is ever expanding, and depending on the direction of Holden Novak's involvement, things could take a dramatic turn. Cain's primary focus is on Victor, the undisputed patriarch of the Newman family, and Billy's willingness to join forces with Cain places him squarely in Victor's crosshairs. As for Damien, it seems he's becoming another target for Cain, likely due to the growing tensions between Damien and Lily. Cain has been probing Holden for information about Lily and her relationship with Damien, further suggesting that Damien's position in Cain's eyes is precarious. The most intriguing aspect of these developments, however, is the Winters family's potential role in all of this. The Winters family has always been at odds with Victor, especially after the deal with Chancellor Industries fell apart and Lily was left betrayed by Victor's actions. However, Devon Hamilton, despite his growing resentment toward Victor, has a history with him, having been close to him in the past. While Lily's feelings toward Victor are still tainted by the betrayal, Devon remains conflicted. It's clear that the Winters family is at a crossroads. Devon and Lily both have reasons to distrust Cain, but they also understand the magnitude of the situation they're facing. The question remains, will they side with Victor, who betrayed them, or will they find themselves in an uneasy alliance with the Newmans against Kane and Billy? The options seem to come down to a moral dilemma. Victor may have hurt Lily and Devon, but Kane represents an even more dangerous power, one that could jeopardize everything they've worked for. As tensions escalate, it's likely that Devon and Lily will take a more neutral stance at first, refusing to choose between the two factions. However, as the conflict grows, it's almost certain that they will eventually have to pick a side. And when they do, it seems likely that the Winters family will ultimately stand with the Newmans against Kane and Billy, choosing to fight against the man who has consistently manipulated and betrayed them. But Kane and Billy won't go down easily. The alliance they've forged, though unconventional, is powerful. Kane's plan to destabilize the Newman empire, and now to involve Billy, could very well succeed if the Winters family doesn't align themselves quickly enough. The Newmans may have wronged Lily, but Kane's intentions are far more dangerous, and Devon and Lily will need to choose which battle is worth fighting. The Winters family and their future in Genoa City. The real question lies in how the Winters family will navigate these precarious alliances. While they have every reason to despise Victor, their past with him gives them a unique position. Devon's loyalty to the family might prevent him from fully siding with Kane, and Lily's relationship with both Victor and Kane complicates the issue even further. Will they remain neutral, or will they throw their weight behind the Newmans, realizing that Kane's ambitions pose a threat to everything they hold dear? For Billy, the path is clearer. He has made his choice, albeit one that many would consider a betrayal of his own values. His frustration with Victor, combined with the opportunity to reclaim control of Chancellor Industries, led him to Kane, the last person anyone would have expected him to align with. But as the saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures, and Billy is willing to do whatever it takes to secure his future. As for Kane, his plan is more than just about business, it's about power, control, and revenge. He's playing a long game, and while the Winters family may not trust Victor, they are about to realize that Kane may be an even greater threat. Kane has always been a master manipulator, and he won't hesitate to use everyone around him to achieve his goals. The road ahead as the episode unfolds, expect plenty of dramatic confrontations, shifting alliances, and the promise of even bigger revelations. With Kane's presence looming over Genoa City and Billy making an unlikely ally in the form of Kane, the stakes have never been higher. The Winters family, still reeling from past betrayals, will have to navigate this treacherous landscape and decide where their loyalties truly lie. With their future at stake, the choices they make now will have consequences that ripple throughout the city. The question remains, who will ultimately win in the battle for control in Genoa City? Will it be the power-hungry Kane, the betrayed Victor, or a dark horse alliance that no one saw coming? Whatever happens, it's clear that the chaos is only just beginning.